Alright, on the steal the car mission, because I was expanding on it to make it ready for the Steam Workshop upload and make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more fleshed out. And I remember that in my last steal the car mission, I actually used sounds from Operation Flashpoint Cold War Crisis, and I figured I could use those again. So I copied those from my old mission and put them in here, basically, or I'm going to put them in here. So I had to change around some of the text in the triggers, and I have some extra sounds that I still have to implement. So I'm going to do that now. You can follow along with me. The first thing I want to look at is okay. So the officer HQ, I put him here at the rendezvous, and yeah, basically we're going to set up some extra parameters here. Okay, so in Operation Flashpoint, the original mission, it was possible to walk back here before you found the car, and HQ would comment on that. So I would like to do this as well. And next to that, there is you could go back while the car was destroyed. It would actually make a new objective, and you would have to go back here on foot after the car got destroyed, and you would have to face the music that way, right? So I want to implement that as well. And then finally, there was a trigger that said that the player was getting way off course. He had to turn around. There was no real fail state connected to it, I think. Just the warnings like, oh, you're going the wrong way, turn around, go back. Alright, so I want to start with that. There's not a whole lot of directions you could go that will be the wrong way out. But for example, you could make one around Stavros. So I would create a trigger, right? Let's see on the map. It actually, yeah, fits almost all of Stavros, so that's okay. We'll go here, type nothing. Activation will be blue for present, and in condition I'll set vehicle player in this list. Okay, because it's possible that the player will get here with the car, like he might drive around here, and so I have to check for him if inside the car, right? So I'm gonna call this off course 1, and then on activation I'll set GA side chat. Whoa, I'm way off course. Better check my map. Okay, and then play sound, bracket, semicolon, off course, true, bracket, semicolon. Okay, and this is one of the triggers you could make repeatable. So there's a little button here, repeatable, which means that if you go outside of this trigger area and you drive back in it, it will play again. Okay, so I'm just going to put that on repeatable, and that's it. Now the player will get a warning to say that he's going the wrong direction. Okay. Alternatively, you could make one around here as well. So if the player decides to walk in this direction, you'll tell him he's off course. If he walks in this direction, you'll tell him he's off course. Well, there's no real need to do that, because I don't think the player will ever think about going there, because he knows the car is inside the town of Neochori. He knows that the rendezvous point is here, but he might take a different direction to go there, right? So I'll just leave this here, and that's okay. Now, I'm going to go to the rendezvous point, and I want to create a trigger that says, or that checks for just the player to be there. Okay, so I'll just use this one and copy it and paste it in. Okay, so I'm going to change this around to player only 1. Then I'll say remove this, remove the car from the equation. Okay. Now HQ will have to say something different here. I wrote down what he's actually saying. What are you playing at, soldier? Where the hell is that hunter? He actually says UAZ, but we don't have a UAZ, so I'll make it an ArmA free appropriate name. Okay. And then play sound will be different as well. Where is car 2? Okay. Now, I added this to the other trigger. I'm going to remove this from here as well. I'll explain what it is right now. Okay, so in this trigger with the vehicle present, I've added a little line that says HQ play move, and then this is the name of an animation. Okay, so the animation is basically the HQ lifting his hand to say stop, no further. Okay, that's all it is. Now, how you can get those animations, I'll go into this a little bit later. I'll show you this in game, because that's actually where you can go into a special animation viewer. Okay, but for now, let's just focus on these triggers here. Okay, so now we have a trigger that checks for the player to be inside, right? Preferably, I have to change something else, because right now, if I drive here with the car, both of these triggers will activate, because this will check for the player in the list. Okay, so what I want to do is add a little delay of 2 seconds. Okay, this one has no delay, and then I'm going to add a little something here that says, what did I call this? Player only one. Okay, so player only one, set trigger statements. Let's have a look at the code. False. Bracket, semicolon. Okay, so when the player drives the vehicle inside of this trigger will activate and no longer play, because this has a 2-second delay, and so this sound and this text will never show up. Okay, but if it's just the player, this will still play, and this will not, because the car is not there. Okay, so finally, in the end, we're going to create another trigger here that does a similar thing. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to change this around to car destroyed. No, actually, return without car 1. Okay, so again, I'm going to check for vehicle player in this list, but now I want something more. I'll just have a quick check, because I need to find the name of the trigger that I want, which is the one that checks for the life status of the car. Vehicle destroyed 1. Okay, so we're going to go back here, open up this trigger, and then I'm going to say trigger activated car destroyed 1. Okay, was that correct actually? Let me have a look. Alright, so this is another nice little thing. This is like the entity list, and this lists all the things you have placed down in your mission. So there are only two Bluefire units, HQ and the player. These can go. These are all the little enemy patrols. Those can go. These are some empty objects I placed. Those can go. And now we have a list of all the triggers. Okay, so actually it's vehicle destroyed 1. I thought I did make a mistake. So the car will be vehicle destroyed 1. Okay, so now we have this little animation. Okay, vehicle, or not animation, this little trigger that checks for both the player being there and trigger activated car vehicle destroyed 1. Okay, which means that the player can go here without the car. This will play if this other trigger has activated. Okay, so now HQ side chat. What did he say again? There we go. Well, at least you made it back in one piece. Okay. Then play the sound. So play sound bracket. Let's see. Where is car? True. Bracket. Semicolon. Okay. So now things are getting a bit more complex, right? We have the trigger that calls for the end of the mission, right? So we have to change around some more stuff here. So I'm going to leave this, and I'm actually going to change this around and call this ending 1. Okay? So I need to create 2 more of these. So I'm going to copy and paste those. Player only 1. So this will actually no, I don't need this, because this one is actually not an ending, right? It just says like, where's the car, go back. Okay, but this one is an alternative ending. So I'm going to create this, say ending 2, and in here I have to check for what's it, return without car 1, and then call for ending number 2. And if you remember, in our last video I talked about the description.ext, where you can add multiple different endings. So right now we're going to make use of that. Okay. Now let me think for a moment. So now this will end. This will end as well. Yeah, so this will only play if the vehicle got destroyed, otherwise it will never play. This will only play if the car is here with the player, so this will end the mission as well. Okay, let me have a think for a moment. Yeah, so everything works. With all these little variables and things, it can get really complex, and you need to keep your head in the game. Talking and thinking about all this stuff is not easy, actually. So I've added those 3 variables. Back without car, and I'm cutting. Yeah, okay. So last thing I want to show you in the game is how you get to the animation viewer. But first, I'll show you a little bit like this. So this is one of the really cool things you can do with the 3D editor now. You can create little bases like this, where before it was very hard to do. So this is really cool. Makes things a lot easier. I decided it was a little bit easy to walk through the town, so I figured that in the center of town, or almost the center of town, I would create a CZ base or an outpost, so that the player has something that you kind of want to stay away from, right? You have to work around this, so you have to be a little bit sneaky. Try to get around this and check all the little areas that the car could be. Okay. Now, right now there are not a whole lot of enemies in here. I'm going to add some more later on, but yeah, the idea is that they have a very nice fortified position, and you have to be careful when you move around this area. Okay. So finally, I'm going to play the scenario, or preview the scenario, and I'll show you the animation viewer. Okay?
You're in position, 6. Now grab that truck and get out of there. Out!
Right, so now we started in the alternative spawn. Let's see. Okay, so when you press escape, you get to this menu, right? And on the right hand side, you have several little things, and one of them is the animations button, right? So all you have to do is press animations, and it will load up this animation viewer. And you have a lot of different things here, right? So you have a lot of different categories, but the one I selected my animation from is from the cutscene section. Okay, so with cutscene, all of these other things, they are grayed out, but you have a very long list down here of all the possible animations with very hard names to remember. So I went about 75% of the way down the list, I think. Let's see. Welcome on hub, blah blah blah. That's a little walk. Okay, so the camera's moving a little bit strangely right now. Don't know why exactly this is going on. I was all the way zoomed in. Okay, so once you play or select one of these lists, the animation will be played here. So some of these are the start of an animation, then a loop that goes on forever. But as you can see, there's no start. It just is immediately like this. Okay. So preferably you would start with this, then use loop, and then out to make someone stop doing an animation. Okay. But if you selected one of these animations that you want to have permanently, for example, there is one where you lie down on your back while you're wounded. Let's see if I can find it. So there's all these little animations. I think it's further down the list. But basically there is let's see. Oh well, I can't find it right now, but there's an animation where you lie wounded and it loops on forever. You can actually use that to put a soldier on the bed and have him sleep there, right? So let's go back to the editor and talk about the last thing. Let's see, go back to HQ. So vehicle present 1. This one calls for the animation, right? And it says play move, but there's also switch move. And switch move works similarly to play move, but it immediately switches a unit into this animation. Okay. With play move, and some have to be played with switch move, and sometimes one animation won't work with play move or one won't work with switch move, but it's kind of hard to tell which one works with which, so it's always a little bit of experimentation going on. So for this animation here, I tried both switch move and play move. Switch move didn't seem to do anything, right? So I have to use play move, and then the animation actually works. Yeah, so that's it. We have some extra parameters, a different fill state. Actually, I remember now that, of course, I have to go back over here, because if the car gets destroyed, we called in this trigger for the mission to be failed. We don't want that, okay? So that one will be deleted. All we have now is HQ reprimanding you and telling you that you have to go back. Okay. So actually we have to add some extra parameters now as well, some extra objectives. Okay. So I'm going to create a new task, set some new states, set new state. I'm going to make this one assigned. This one will be succeeded. That's all we need. We need to change this. Okay, get back. And task ID, get back as well. Title, get back to the rendezvous point. And in the description I'll say the car got destroyed. You'll be on HQ's shit list forever. Now go back to the rendezvous point. Right. Destination will also be module position. And I'm going to drag these over to our ending zone, right? I'm going to drag this one in here. Set task state, set task state. Okay, so now I'm going to sync them together. Sync it to the player, who is over here in the woods. Okay, and finally, this has to be created when the vehicle gets destroyed. So I'm going to sync this to the vehicle destroyed 1, and then the assign version that succeeded. This one is assigned, so I'm going to sync that one to vehicle destroyed 2. And then finally, I want this objective to succeed when you get here without the car. So I'm going to sync this to that one. Okay. So now we actually need one more thing. We need, I think it's this one over here, right? Yeah. So this one gets activated when you get into the vehicle, right? This needs to have a cancelled state. So I'm going to create a new set task state. I'm going to sync it to this one, then set the state to cancelled. And actually, let me think for a moment. This is assigned. I need to redo this, so I'm going to desync this for now. This one can stay. Yeah, okay, so I deleted this trigger here on a little bit earlier, right? I actually need one more. So vehicle destroyed 3, trigger activated, vehicle destroyed 2. Okay, and the reason for that is, first I want this one to be, okay, I'm going to disconnect this as well. So now that we have all this figured out, I'm going to go here, the cancelled state, right? This one will be first. So this one, when the vehicle gets destroyed, the drive the car back task will be cancelled. Okay, so now we need this one to be created on the second trigger, and then we need it to be assigned. Let's see, connect this back up to this, and then have it assigned on the third trigger. Let's save it. Okay, so it's a lot of added complexity. It's not something you really need because the mission was functional to begin with, but you know, it adds a little support for extra scenarios that the player might encounter. So yeah, that's it. The mission should be good to go now, and this will be the final version to get uploaded to the Steam Workshop. So I was watching the video that I just finished, and then it hit me. I need to do one more thing. Oh wait, no markers. So the actual steal the car trigger needs to have a cancelled state as well. I forgot about that. Yeah, so set task state, cancelled, sync to steal the car, and then vehicle destroyed 1 needs to be connected to it as well. So this one will cancel either the task that will be created when you get into this car, or it will cancel the task of stealing the car in the first place. Alright, so, and then finally one last thing. It was over here. I saw a typo. rendezvous point. Okay. Well, that should finally be everything. And it's so hard. I keep forgetting stuff. It's just it's okay when you're not actually making a video, because then you can have all the you can retry it, and then you'll see little mistakes in logic and all that stuff. But now I have to talk, I have to think about this stuff at the same time. Yeah, I forget stuff, but I should have fixed everything now. Fingers crossed.